Collins went back to those woods on his own. No one invited him. No one asked. He just couldn't live with what he'd seen. He wanted to prove to himself it was all just a head trip, being tired, the dark, his imagination playing tricks. So he went back, and he never came out. Here's the breakdown for those who missed the first part. Ray was a hunter. He got turned around in the Pine Ridge woods in North Carolina and stumbled onto an old cabin. Things got so sideways that night, he bailed at 3 a.m, bolted straight into the pitch black, into woods he didn't know, just to get out of there. There were footsteps circling the house with no tracks, a candle that lit itself, a warning carved into the table. "Don't sleep here," scratched in a dozen different handwritings. Breathing, coming from under the floorboards. Later, a bartender told him the place belonged to a ranger who died alone back in the winter of '73. They didn't find him until spring, just sitting at the table, staring at the floor. Those scratches on the table? He'd done that to himself. Now, a sane person would have walked away. Not Ray. For months, he couldn't catch a break, couldn't sleep. He'd wake up at 3 a.m. sharp and just lie there, listening to the silence of his apartment. Everything was still, but he had this gut feeling that someone was breathing right under his floor. Finally, he decided, I have to go back. Not to stay the night, just to see the place in the daylight, with a clear head, to put his demons to rest. He drove to Pine Ridge in October, hit the same bar. The bartender recognized him right away, didn't say a word, just slid a glass over. Ray asked how to find the cabin. The bartender just stared at him for a long beat. Then he said, "You don't find it. It finds you." Ray just nodded, grabbed his pack, and headed into the brush. He hiked all day. Nothing, just woods. Pine, spruce, ferns. Every time he rounded a corner, he thought, this is it. But no, just more trees. He was walking in circles. He could tell by his own tracks. Compass was fine. GPS was working. The forest was dead silent. By evening, Ray was wiped. His legs were shot. His back was aching. He figured, that's it. I'm done. It was all in my head. He turned around to head back to the truck. 20 minutes later, he caught a whiff of it. Old wood, dampness, and something sweet, sickly sweet. He stopped, waited. Then he followed his nose. The cabin was right there between the trees. Exactly the same. Dark logs, sagging roof, one window boarded up. The old well was still there, rope cut clean. The grass around it was matted down like something had been laying there. Ray didn't knock, not this time. He just pushed the door open like he owned the place. Everything was the same. The table, the benches, the stove. That same candle was on the table. He'd bet his life on it. The air was warm. The floorboards didn't even creak. He sat down on the bench and looked around. The scratches were there. Don't sleep here. He leaned over and checked behind the stove. There was the date on the wall. November 14th, 1973. Ray just sat there, waiting. Nothing happened. It was quiet, peaceful even. He thought, maybe in the light of day it's just a shack. Maybe the bartender was just spinning yarns. He sat. He waited. Then he noticed the window. It was pitch black. He looked at his watch, 5:30. He'd only been inside for maybe 20 minutes, but outside, it was deep night, like someone had just flipped a switch. Ray stood up and went to the window. Total darkness. He couldn't wrap his head around it. He'd walked in while the sun was up, 20 minutes max. That's not how time works. He sat back down and pulled out his phone. 8 p.m. He'd lost 2.5 hours just sitting there. He decided not to risk the woods in the dark. He'd wait for daybreak. He wouldn't sleep, he'd just sit tight. He grabbed his rifle and leaned against the wall. He tried to stay sharp. He didn't make it. He passed out. Didn't even feel it happen. 1 second he was awake, the next, he was gone. He woke up freezing. The cold was coming from the floor, creeping up his legs. Ray opened his eyes. There was a skeleton sitting at the table, right across from him, sitting straight up, hands on the wood, head tilted down, staring at the floor. Exactly like the bartender said. In the flickering candlelight, yellow bones, black sockets. Ray couldn't move. He stared at it for a few seconds, then rubbed his eyes. The skeleton was gone. The table was empty. The candle was still burning. Silence. He let out a breath and stood up. And that's when it started outside. Footsteps. Those footsteps. 3 steps, pause. 3 steps, pause. But it wasn't just one set anymore. There were dozens. Something was circling the cabin. And then the howling started. Not a wolf, not a dog. Something in between. Low, long, sounding almost human. Ray grabbed his rifle and lunged for the door. He shoved it, stuck. He slammed his shoulder into it. It wouldn't budge. The door was locked from the outside, but there wasn't even a latch. It was like something was just holding it shut. He backed into the corner, rifle leveled at the door. The steps didn't stop. The howling didn't stop. Then a new sound started, scraping, like something huge was crawling down the outside wall, slow, top to bottom. Ray slumped into the corner. He covered his face and closed his eyes. He just waited, not knowing for what. And then, right under him, the floorboards didn't creak, they snapped like dry bones. He pulled his feet back and looked down. There was a gap in the wood, and that same ice-cold air was pouring out of it. Then another board snapped, then a third. Something was pushing up from below, steady, strong. One by one, the boards were splintering. It was pitch black down there. Ray tried to scream, nothing came out. Tried to stand, his legs wouldn't work. Something grabbed his leg from the dark, something cold, something strong. He looked down, but he couldn't see a thing. It just held him, and then it pulled him down. They found his truck at the trailhead 4 days later. Keys in the ignition, phone on the seat, dead. Ray was gone. They searched for a week, dogs, choppers, volunteers. When the bartender heard the news, he didn't say much. He just said one thing. I told him, you don't find it, it finds you. And the second time, it doesn't let go. They never found that cabin again. People say you can still hear the howling out in Pine Ridge. Low, long, almost human. Don't go out there, especially